Hi folks, in this video I'm going to talk about traditional demand planning versus smart demand planning. Let's first briefly discuss traditional or basic demand planning. So demand planning basically involves generating a demand plan that contains unconstrained forecast at product level, at SKU level, and also at customer level in a specific time bucket for certain time horizon. So basically, it starts with creating a statistical forecast using backlog or customer orders, shipment or historical data, point of sale data. Okay, so demand planners basically use those information to create statistical forecasts for all the SKUs. Okay, they can use any forecasting software, or they can also use programming language, right? For example, Python. At the same time, the sales, marketing, and product management people have some market intelligence that they can use to provide some inputs to generate the forecast as well, right? In some cases, market conditions, changes, and the historical data that demand planners have used to create statistical forecasts is not valid. Okay, so in those cases, the input from sales, marketing, and product management is very helpful. Okay, so one forecast is coming from demand planners, which we call a statistical forecast, and other one uh, from sales, marketing, and product management that they are using market intelligence, right? So these two folks have to sit together to develop a single number, okay, in a consensus forecast meeting. Okay, before we go there, I'm going to highlight one more thing. When we generate a forecast, basically the forecast have two components, right? One is production forecast and the other one is NPI forecast. NPI forecast means forecast for new products, right? For those new products, we don't have the historical data to generate statistical forecasts. Okay, so in those cases, we have to use different techniques to develop NPI forecast. I'm not going to go into that detail. That's not the topic of today's call. But in the future, I may be giving you some details how we can do that, okay, in the future videos. So you have two forecast components, right? Production, also NPI from statistical forecasting, and also same two components coming from sales and marketing and product management folks. Okay, when they sit together in a consensus forecast call, after the call we have a single number on a given SKU. Okay, so we have the unconstrained forecast for all the SKUs, which we call demand plan. Okay, and demand planners present those numbers in a S&OP call or S&OP call, which we call demand review process. Okay, so after the meeting, the number goes to MPS, so they can generate master production schedule or bill plan and can send it to the factory or production planning team. The other output that comes out of S&OP call is forecast performance metrics, which includes forecast error, forecast accuracy, and forecast churns, and so on. Okay, so the feedback goes to demand planners so that they can use that information in the next statistical forecast cycle. Okay, meaning that they can use that information to improve the forecast on those items that are falling behind, meaning those items that have poor forecast accuracy. Okay, so this makes the demand planning cycle a closed loop cycle. Okay, so the question is, how can we take this demand planning process to the next level or make it more smarter. As you know, demand planning management spend lots of time, energy, and money in some cases to improve the forecast accuracy for all the SKUs. In many cases, what I learned, high forecast accuracy is not needed for all the SKUs. You're just spending time and energy in the wrong direction. And many times we have noticed that even if the forecast accuracy overall is good, still we struggle in fulfilling customer demand. So the solution I present or suggest here is creating a risk profile for all the SKUs and use that data to improve your demand planning process. So what do I mean by that? Let me give you one example. In your screen, you are seeing these three tables. The very first step in generating a risk profile for an SKU is selecting some factors. Normally, I select two factors, which are trend and revenue. Here, trend means the future trend of an item. Okay, once you have a forecast, you know what is the trend of that item in the future. If it's going up, flat, or going down in the future. Okay, also you know that if that SKU is a high revenue item or not. So here you have three possibilities for factor 1, and also you have three possibilities for factor 2. So combining together, we have 9 different combinations. Okay, so now how we can generate the risk profile? Let's take a look one example. Okay, the very first line. Here you see the trend of an SKU is up, and also that SKU is a high revenue item. Okay, so in this case, you will never want to have any stockouts. Okay, so you can carry extra amount of inventory. Okay, that's okay. That's not going to harm you because the trend of an SKU is up. So even if you are sitting on some inventory in the future, you can still sell it. Okay, and also, and you can, so this means that you can plan high amount of buffer on those items. Okay, at the same time, if the forecast accuracy is low on that item, it's okay as long as the forecast error is not positive, meaning that your forecast should never be lower than actual. So basically you are over planning your numbers. So your forecast is always higher than the actual or the backlog or the customer orders. Okay, so in this case, the risk profile of that SKU I can put very low or extremely low. Okay, on the other hand, take a look this example. Here the trend of an SKU is down in the future, and this SKU is a low revenue item. So in this case, you will never want to have high amount of inventory. Okay, because the trend is down. If you are sitting with some inventory on this item, you might want to scrap it in the future. Okay, because you may not be able to sell it. So you will never want to keep high amount of buffer on those items, or keep as low as possible. Okay, so at the same time, forecast accuracy on those items should be as high as possible, and also you will never want to have the forecast error negative. Okay, you'll always want to have forecast error positive. Positive means your actual or backlog is higher than the forecast, or I would say target the forecast error to 0. That's the safe side. Okay, if you cannot maintain 0, having positive forecast error is okay. Okay, because you're not gonna miss huge amount of revenue on those, even if you miss some orders, right? So this way, you can create the risk profile for all the SKUs, all the items. Okay, so now you see that if you do your demand planning and the forecast metrics and the forecasting this way, you will be spending your time and energy in the right direction, and your overall time in creating demand plan will be reduced. Okay, yeah, so this is what we call smart demand planning. Okay, and in the S&OP call or SIOP call, you can sell this idea to the management. If they question you why the forecast accuracy is low on this item, you can tell them the reason behind it. What's the downside of having a high forecast accuracy on those items, or what is the risk of having low forecast accuracy on those items? Okay, so you can give them multiple examples so they understand why we are doing this. Okay, and you will understand, they will appreciate your logic, because in this way you are planning in the right direction, which is perfectly aligned with the company goal. Okay, so that's all for today. Thanks for watching the video. We'll talk about another supply chain topic in the next video. Thank you.